The
Today,
sun of the
we
distant star
claim
system
our
of
victory
Yalara
in
glimmered
blood.
across the colony's dusty
Forward!
plains. Small human outposts dotted the rocky surface, each protected by a few heavily armed patrols. Captain Elias Rayner walked alongside a team of scouts, his eyes scanning the horizon. The colony had been quiet for weeks, almost too quiet. That made him uneasy. "Something feels off," Elias muttered. He adjusted his helmet and checked the sensors on his wrist. Nothing unusual, just the wind, but the uneasy feeling stayed in his gut. Lieutenant Mara, his second-in-command, frowned. "You say that every time. What is it this time?" Elias shook his head. "I don't know, just a feeling. Keep your eyes open." The scouts moved carefully over the rocky ridges. They were there to map the region and scout for resources, but Elias had a feeling that something would find them first. Hours passed, and the sun began to set. The shadows stretched long across the ground, and the temperature dropped quickly. Suddenly, a shriek pierced the quiet air, a child's scream. "That sounded like," Mara began, but Elias didn't wait. He sprinted toward the sound. Behind him, the team followed, weapons raised. Through the rocks, Elias saw a small figure struggling. A little girl no more than 10 years old was trapped in a strange, web-like structure of alien origin. The material was thick, almost metallic, and it held her fast. Her breathing was shallow, her eyes wide with fear. "Hang on," Elias shouted, rushing forward. He drew his knife and began cutting at the alien material, the edges sharp and glowing faintly. The girl struggled, her small hands trembling. Suddenly, a dark shadow fell across the rocks above. Elias looked up just in time to see a massive alien predator drop from the cliff. Its limbs were long and spindly, covered in hard, black plates. Its mouth opened, revealing rows of jagged teeth. It moved faster than anything human-made, faster than Elias had ever seen. "Get back!" Elias yelled, but the girl didn't move. Fear had frozen her. Elias had no time to think. He threw himself between the creature and the girl, his knife flashing in the dim light. The alien hissed and lunged, slashing at him with its claws. Elias barely dodged, but the edge of one claw scraped his shoulder, cutting deep. Blood seeped through his uniform. The scouts opened fire, their rifles glowing with energy rounds. The alien roared, a terrifying sound that echoed across the canyon, but it didn't retreat. It was faster than they expected, leaping and twisting in the air, trying to strike Elias again. "Captain, behind you!" Mara shouted. Elias spun, blocking another strike. He gritted his teeth as pain shot through his arm. He could feel his blood trickling down, mixing with the dust. But he couldn't stop. Not now, not with the girl's life on the line. He grabbed her hand and shouted, "Run!" The girl clutched his hand, and together they sprinted across the rocks. The alien lunged again, but a well-placed energy shot from the scouts hit it in the side. It screeched in pain and disappeared into the shadows. Elias stumbled, blood dripping onto the rocky ground. The girl fell beside him, trembling. "Are you okay?" he asked, panting. I think so," she whispered. Her eyes were wide, filled with terror. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Elias said, trying to smile through the pain. "We need to get you back to the colony." As they moved, something strange happened. A ship, enormous and unlike anything human-made, descended silently from the sky. Its hull shimmered with a strange, iridescent glow. The humans froze. The girl clung to Elias. A hatch opened and figures emerged. They were tall, strong, and unlike anything Elias had ever seen. Their skin was a deep, metallic green, their eyes golden and intelligent. The tallest among them, a female, stepped forward. Her presence was commanding, almost regal. "You saved her," the alien said in perfect human speech, though her voice carried a strange, musical undertone. "You risked your life for my child." Elias swallowed hard. I didn't know she was yours. I was just doing what any human would do." The alien's eyes narrowed slightly. "That is exactly why I am here. You are not like the others." "Others?" Elias asked, confused. The alien stepped closer. I am Jaira, she is my daughter, and you have bled for her. That act is sacred to my people. Elias blinked. He had no idea what she meant. I just saved a child, that's all. Jaira studied him carefully, her golden eyes glowing softly. On my world, anyone who bleeds for a Clethari child becomes part of the family. You have proven yourself worthy, human, and now you must stay. Elias staggered back. Stay, I can't. I have a colony. I have people depending on me. I can't just. You cannot refuse, Jaira said, her voice firm but not cruel. Not because I demand it, but because the bond is already made. Your courage and selflessness belong to my family now. The girl clung to Jaira, looking up at her mother, then back at Elias. She seemed happy, safe, but also curious about him. Elias shook his head, pain and confusion mixing with disbelief. I don't belong here. I am human. I can't just be part of your family. Jaira's expression softened slightly. Belonging is not about choice alone. It is about honor, bravery, and the act you performed. You have shown both. That is enough. Elias glanced down at his bloodied shoulder, the pain thudding in his chest. He had saved the girl. He had risked everything. And now these aliens, stronger, faster, smarter than any human, wanted him. Not as a prisoner, but as something else entirely. Something he didn't understand. He tried to speak, but Jaira raised her hand. Rest, heal. In time you will understand what this means. For now you are safe, and so is my child. The scouts moved cautiously, unsure whether to trust these powerful beings. Mara whispered to Elias, "What are we dealing with, Captain?" Elias shook his head, still watching Jaira and the girl. Something unlike anything we've ever faced. As night fell over Yalara, Elias was left alone with his thoughts. He had saved a life, but he had walked into a web he did not understand. Across the stars, the Clethari ship gleamed, waiting, watching, as if measuring his every heartbeat. Elias awoke in a chamber bathed in soft, golden light. The walls shimmered faintly, as if alive, and a subtle hum filled the room. He groaned and tried to sit up, noticing the bandages on his shoulder and arm. His knife lay on a nearby table untouched. "Good, you are awake," said a voice behind him. Elias turned to see Jaira standing there, her golden eyes calm but intense. "You healed me?" Elias asked. "Yes," she said simply. "Our methods are different but effective. You will need strength if you are to understand what your actions mean to my people." Elias rubbed his eyes, still processing everything. I just saved a child. I don't belong here. I have people waiting for me." Jaira stepped closer. "And yet you bled for my daughter. That is sacred. In our culture, a human who performs such an act does not simply leave. You are honored, and you are needed." Elias frowned. "Needed? For what?" Jaira's gaze sharpened. "To protect, to teach, to bond. That is the role of those who sacrifice themselves for Clethari children. You will be part of my family, human." Elias shook his head, frustration and disbelief rising. "I am not part of your family. I am human. I have duties, a colony to protect. I can't just stay here." Jaira studied him silently for a long moment. Finally, she said, "You have a choice, but not in the way you think. The bond is made. Your actions have sealed it. Refusing is not dishonor, it is unexpected. But understand this, leaving now will be harder than staying." Before Elias could respond, the chamber door opened. Two Clethari guards entered carrying a small device. They placed it on the floor. It hummed, and a holographic map appeared, showing the surrounding star systems. "This," Jaira said, "is our territory, and beyond it rival factions wait. They know of your actions. They will try to use you or harm you. Staying with us is safety and opportunity." Elias looked at the map, the lines of stars and glowing ships. "Rival factions," Jaira nodded. "Yes, the Clethari are not a single people. Some wish to dominate, others to protect. Your bravery has made you a target." He clenched his fists. "So, you want me to stay as bait or as some kind of warrior?" Jaira shook her head. "Neither. You are a human. Your ways are different. That is why you are valuable. You see threats we cannot think as we do not act with ingenuity our warriors lack. That is why I want you close, not as a tool but as an ally. Elias rubbed his forehead, still unsure. An ally, and if I refuse? Then you will face them alone, Jaira said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes carried warning. Do you understand what that means? He did. A chill ran down his spine. Alone against Clethari rivals, he would not survive. His human ingenuity could only do so much against species faster, stronger, and armed with weapons far beyond human technology. He sat in silence, thinking. He had risked his life for a child, and now that act had thrown him into a galaxy of alien politics, rivalries, and danger. Yet he could not deny the strange pull of honor in Jaira's offer. You are thinking, Jaira said, observing him. Good, that is wise, but know this time is limited. Those who wish to exploit you are already moving. We must act before they reach us. Elias finally nodded. Okay. I will stay for now, but I am not your soldier. I am not part of your family yet. Jaira's golden eyes softened. That is acceptable, for now human, but your bond is recognized. You have a place here whether you claim it or not. Over the next hours, Jaira introduced Elias to the Clethari world in more detail. Their ships were massive, sleek, and organic in design, as if they had grown instead of being built. Weapons systems responded to thought and emotion. The environment was alive, responsive, and dangerous to outsiders who did not understand it. Elias struggled to comprehend the complexity, but his human mind adapted quickly. He noticed weaknesses and patterns the Clethari seemed blind to. He trained with their warriors, learning their techniques while subtly testing them with his own strategies. You think differently, Jaira said one day, observing him. Your mind is not bound by fear of failure. You improvise, adapt, survive. That is unusual. Elias smirked despite the exhaustion. Humans have to. We don't have the luxury of centuries to perfect everything. Jaira studied him closely. Perhaps that is why you survived the predator and why you bled for my daughter. Fear did not rule you. Courage did. Ingenuity guided you. That is rare among your species and almost unheard of among mine. But peace did not last. Word came that a rival Clethari faction, the Drakari, had intercepted intelligence about Elias. They saw him as a threat and a potential weapon. If he could be convinced to fight, he would become the deadliest human in the galaxy. Jaira gathered her advisors. Elias stood silently, observing the discussion, aware he was being studied like a chess piece. We cannot allow them to capture him, Jaira said. He has proven value more than you know. He must remain with us. But he is human, one advisor said. He may refuse. Let him refuse, Jaira replied. They will try to take him anyway. And then they will learn why humans are dangerous. The attack came at dawn. The Drakari ships appeared on the horizon, sleek black craft that shimmered in the sunlight. Their weapons were aimed directly at the Clethari capital ship, and their intent was clear: capture Elias at any cost. Elias stood on the deck, observing them. His mind raced. If the Clethari fought conventionally, they would meet heavy losses. But he had ideas, human ideas. Captain Elias, Jaira said, her voice calm but urgent. We are ready to defend. You may offer strategies or watch us die. Elias' eyes narrowed. Then I will help. We don't fight like them. We fight smarter. He suggested using small, maneuvering ships, unconventional energy pulses, and deceptive patterns to confuse the Drakari. The Clethari hesitated, but the logic was sound. When the Drakari ship struck, Elias' strategies worked better than expected. They dodged, misdirected, and struck back with pinpoint precision. Several enemy ships were destroyed before the Drakari realized the humans were not like any other species they had faced. The battle raged across the stars, but Elias remained calm, directing movements and exploiting weaknesses. Jaira watched, all replacing doubt. When the final Drakari ship retreated, the Clethari celebrated, but Jaira's gaze returned to Elias. You think like no Clethari ever has, she said quietly. You are dangerous in the best way. Elias smiled, exhausted but proud. I'm just human, that's all. Jaira's golden eyes glinted. Perhaps, but that is enough to make the universe take notice. As night fell over the Clethari ship, Elias realized something. He had come to save a child. Now he was a target, a symbol and a bridge between species. He was not a soldier, not yet a family member, but he was no longer free to ignore the galaxy's eyes. The Clethari war room buzzed with energy, its holographic screens flickering as star maps shifted in real time. Elias stood in the center, examining the positions of the Drakari forces. Every fiber of his being screamed that more trouble was coming. Jaira's golden eyes fixed on him. They will not stop, she said. You have proven yourself once, but the Drakari will return stronger, smarter, and more ruthless. Elias nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Then we make sure they regret it. He studied the enemy movements. Unlike the Clethari, who relied on brute strength and advanced weapons, Elias thought differently. Patterns, misdirection, traps, human ingenuity. We don't fight like them, Elias said. We fight unpredictable. We use their strengths against them, confuse them, and strike where they least expect. Jaira tilted her head, curious. Show me. Over the next hours, Elias worked tirelessly with the Clethari warriors. He modified small strike ships to act as bait, drew false signals across the sensors, and created decoy energy signatures. The Clethari were skeptical at first, but soon realized his plans were ingenious. His human mind saw connections their own centuries of training could not. Humans, strange creatures, one Clethari warrior muttered, but effective. The Drakari returned at nightfall, faster and angrier than before. Their black ships cut through the void, weapons charging as they closed in. Jaira's fleet moved to intercept, but Elias had already positioned the decoys. Activate the pulse, he instructed. A series of low-energy waves spread across the sector, creating false readings that made the Drakari believe the fleet was weaker than it really was. As expected, they advanced aggressively, falling into the trap. Elias' heart pounded. He gave orders quickly, directing the Clethari to flank while the decoy ships led the enemy into narrow corridors of asteroid fields. The Drakari ships, sleek and powerful, could not maneuver as quickly. Boom! One ship collided with a hidden asteroid. Another fell into an energy trap, disabled before it could react. The Drakari had underestimated humans. Captain Elias, Jaira said, her voice calm but filled with respect, you have turned the tide. Elias shook his head, still focused on the battle. Not yet. Keep moving. Predict their reactions. Stay ahead of them. Hours passed in a blur of movement, strategy, and energy bursts. Elias' human intuition guided the fleet, each decision saving lives and turning the Drakari back, step by step. The aliens could not understand his choices at first. They were too unconventional, too human. Finally, the Drakari retreated, their fleet battered and broken. Jaira's warriors cheered, but Elias didn't relax. He knew it was only temporary. After the battle, Jaira summoned Elias to her private chamber. The girl he had saved was there, playing quietly on a soft, glowing floor. She looked up at him, smiling shyly. You did it, she said softly. You saved everyone. Elias knelt beside her, smiling through fatigue. We did it together. Jaira studied him, her expression unreadable. You have shown the best of humanity, courage, ingenuity, compassion, all in one. And yet you resist fully joining us. Why? Elias leaned back, exhausted but thoughtful. Because I am human. I don't belong to any one place or species. I help, I protect, but I choose my own path. That is what makes me me. Jaira's golden eyes glinted. And that is why you are dangerous and why I want you close. Your independence, your ability to think differently, your courage, these are things my people rarely see. You are not just a human, you are a force. Elias looked down, unsure. I didn't ask to be a force. I just saved a child, that's all. But that act has changed everything, Jaira said softly. You are no longer just a human. You are a symbol, and symbols are never ignored. The next days were filled with tension. Messages came from nearby systems. Rumors of Elia's deeds had spread, and other alien species were taking notice. Some were curious, some fearful. Humanity's reputation was quietly beginning to grow, fueled by a single man's bravery. Meanwhile, the Drakari regrouped. They were furious, humiliated by the defeat and desperate to capture Elias. They launched smaller, faster attack squads, testing the Clethari defenses. Each time, Elias devised clever counter-strategies, using his knowledge of human unpredictability and Clethari technology together. Jaira observed quietly, fascinated. "You do not fight like our warriors," she said one evening. "You think beyond the battle. You see patterns, weaknesses, possibilities that none of us see. That is remarkable." Elias shrugged. "Humans have to adapt. It's survival. When you face a predator faster and stronger than you, you improvise. You do not wait for tradition to guide you, you act." Jaira smiled faintly. "And that is why I want you here. Not as a soldier, not as a pawn, but as a teacher. Others must learn what you have shown. Humanity is more than I imagined." Then came the test that would define everything. A Drakari assault fleet larger than ever approached the Clethari sector. They aimed to overwhelm, to take Elias, and to crush the Clethari fleet. Elias stood on the observation deck, studying the incoming ships. His mind raced. Every conventional tactic would fail. The Drakari had more numbers, more firepower, and they were desperate. "Listen," he said to Jaira, "we can't meet them head-on. We make them chase shadows, hit and run, force them into traps they won't expect. And we make them think they are winning until it's too late." Jaira raised an eyebrow. "Do you really think that will work?" "It has to," Elias said firmly, "because humans don't fight like anyone else, and I'm not about to let them win." The battle began. Decoy ships darted across the sector, drawing the Drakari into dangerous asteroid fields. Hidden Clethari cannons struck from unexpected angles. Energy pulses disrupted sensors. Every move Elias suggested confused the enemy, forcing them to make mistakes. One by one, Drakari ships fell, their tactics unraveling as they tried to predict the unpredictable human strategies. The Clethari marveled, their warriors performing maneuvers they had never practiced. Elias moved like a shadow across the battlefield, giving orders, improvising, adapting. His human mind saw the flow of battle as a puzzle, and he solved it in real time. When the last Drakari flagship exploded, Elias sank into a chair, exhausted. Jaira approached, her golden eyes glowing with admiration. "You have done what no Clethari ever has," she said quietly. "You have turned the impossible into reality. You are extraordinary." Elias shook his head. "I'm just a human, that's all." Jaira smiled faintly. "No human. That is enough. You have proven that humanity is more than it seems, brave, clever, unstoppable when pushed. You are a reminder of what your species can achieve." Later, Elias walked among the Clethari warriors. They treated him differently now, respectful, curious, almost reverent. They asked questions, studied his tactics, and even attempted to emulate his human improvisations. He realized something. By saving a child, by risking his life, he had changed more than one battle. He had changed how a powerful alien species viewed humanity. They would never underestimate humans again. And Jaira, the alien mother who had wanted to keep him, was watching, learning, and perhaps respecting him in ways Elias could not yet fully understand. The galaxy had shifted, quietly but undeniably. And Elias knew that the final part of this journey was coming, the ultimate test where human courage, ingenuity, and morality would face its greatest challenge yet. The stars stretched endlessly across the void, silent witnesses to the preparations aboard the Clethari capital ship. Elias stood at the edge of the observation deck, His arms crossed as he watched the incoming fleet of Drakari ships. This was no minor attack, it was a full-scale invasion. Jaira approached, her presence as commanding as ever. Her golden eyes reflected the distant light of the stars. "They have brought everything they have," she said quietly. "This is not a battle you can fight alone." Elias shook his head. "I don't want to fight alone, I want to fight smart. We can turn this. We can make them regret underestimating us." Jaira studied him carefully. "You have proven yourself human in ways I never expected. Your mind, your courage, even your defiance. But the final test is here." Elias felt a surge of determination. Every choice he had made, every risk he had taken had led to this moment. The galaxy was watching. Humanity had already begun to make its mark through him. But now it was time to show just how unstoppable humans could be. The Drakari fleet emerged from hyperspace, their black ships forming a wall of menace across the starfield. Elias quickly assessed their formation. It was conventional, relying on brute force and overwhelming numbers. He turned to Jaira. "We don't meet them head-on. We use what they can't predict. We divide, confuse, and attack where they think we are weakest." Jaira nodded. "Then lead, human, show us the way." Elias organized the Clethari fleet into small, fast-strike teams. Decoy ships created false signals, drawing the Drakari into asteroid fields and magnetic storms. Hidden turrets struck at their engines, disabling the first wave before it could reach the capital ship. The Drakari commander, furious and confused, ordered his ships into tighter formations. Elias had anticipated this. He directed Clethari ships to strike in unpredictable patterns, hitting and retreating, striking again from angles no Drakari had expected. "Captain Elias," Jaira whispered, watching his movements, "you think like no Clethari ever has. You are unstoppable." Elias did not respond. His focus was total. Each decision, each command was precise. Every human tactic he had learned on Earth, every improvisation, every risk, was applied in the heat of battle. Midway through the fight, a massive Drakari battleship broke through the outer defenses, aiming directly for Elias' position. He assessed the threat in seconds. Its shields were strong, its weapons deadly, but its engines were vulnerable. "Target the engines," he shouted. "Do not engage directly. Let it chase the decoys, then hit from behind." The Clethari obeyed, hesitant but trusting his instincts. The decoy ships lured the Drakari flagship into an asteroid cluster. Hidden Clethari cannons struck with devastating precision, and the massive ship exploded in a blinding flash of energy. A cheer went up among the Clethari warriors, but Elias knew better. The battle was far from over. Hours passed in a blur. The Drakari adapted, changing their tactics, but Elias stayed ahead. Every move he made forced the enemy to react, always a step behind. He relied on his human creativity, something no Clethari or Drakari could predict. Jaira's admiration grew with every maneuver. "You are more than human," she said softly to one of her advisors. "You are proof that courage, intelligence, and instinct can defy any expectation. He is a force unto himself." Elias, exhausted, barely heard her. He was focused on the final phase of his plan. Using a combination of stealth ships, false signals, and rapid maneuvers, he isolated the remaining Drakari ships and struck them with pinpoint precision. The Drakari commander finally realized he had been outmatched, not by numbers or weapons, but by ingenuity. When the last Drakari ship fled, the Clethari fleet was battered but victorious. Elias sank into a chair, sweat and blood mingling with the grime of battle. His shoulder throbbed where he had been injured in the first encounter, yet he felt alive, triumphant. Jaira approached him quietly. The girl he had saved ran into his arms, hugging him tightly. "You saved everyone," she whispered. Elias hugged her back, smiling faintly despite exhaustion. "We did it together." Jaira studied him, her golden eyes filled with respect and something deeper, recognition of his unique humanity. "You have done more than save my daughter, Captain Elias. You have changed how my people see your species. Humans are remarkable, brave, clever, and unstoppable when they must be." Elias shook his head. "I'm just a human, that's all. I didn't do anything extraordinary." Jaira smiled faintly. "Perhaps not to you. But to the galaxy, your courage will be remembered. Your actions, your choices are a symbol." In the days after the battle, Elias was faced with a choice. Jaira offered him a permanent place with the Clethari as a protector, advisor, and honored member of her family. To accept would guarantee safety, influence, and prestige. To refuse would mean returning to the human colonies, to his people, but also risk more conflicts with alien factions who now knew of his abilities. Elias thought carefully. He valued freedom above all. He had always acted for what was right, not for reward. But he also understood the power of alliances and the importance of building trust across species. Finally, he made his decision. He would not become a permanent Clethari, but he would act as an official human liaison, a protector when needed, a teacher of human ingenuity and a bridge between species. It was a compromise, but it honored both his freedom and the bond he had earned. Jaira nodded in approval. "Wise," she said. "You are still human, yet you serve as a symbol of what your kind can achieve. You are not ours, but the galaxy now knows the strength of humanity." Elias returned to the observation deck one last time before leaving the Clethari ship. The girl waved from the corridor, safe and happy. Jaira stood behind her, proud and respectful. As the stars stretched endlessly before him, Elias realized something profound. One act of courage, saving a child, had changed more than one life. It had reshaped how entire civilizations viewed humanity. And in that moment he understood the truth of what Jaira had said. Humans were underestimated, yes, but when pushed, they were clever, courageous, and unstoppable. They could adapt, survive, and lead, even among the stars. The Clethari and humans now had a fragile alliance, a bond forged in courage and respect. Elias had proven that a single human could stand against incredible odds and leave a lasting mark on the galaxy. And somewhere deep inside, he smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning. Humanity's story among the stars had only just begun, and it would be one that no alien would dare ignore.